Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello, and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that's feeling a little bit, I don't know, down in the dumps, long in the tooth, call it what you will, at the moment, due to the COVID situation, due to the fact that America is in the headlines yet again for bad reasons. And anyway, I am your host. My name is Tosin. I am based in Bromsgrove in Worcestershire, and joining me on the Isle of Wight, Sharon.
Hello.
And I believe also on the Isle of Wight this week is Shaun.
Yeah, I'm back to work. I'm one of the key workery type people. So, yeah, I'm here.
Hang on, wait. If you're a key worker, so to sort of deviate from films, right from the word go, to go off on a tangent, right from the word go.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Let's get back to the movies.
No. I'm going. You said key worker. Does that mean that you're going to get vaccinated sometime soon?
Well, I don't know. There was talk. No one really knows at the moment, to be honest. No one really knows at the moment. I mean, it's I'm sort of, you just no one really knows. So no, I haven't got a clue, Toes. Not got a clue.
Okay.
My mum's had her first jab.
All right,
She's had her first vaccine. She had that before Christmas, so she's had the first one, and she's due to have her second one on Wednesday. So I've arranged my times around so I can take her. And there was an elderly lady who lives down the road who goes to my mum's hairdressers. She was given the appointment. She's 94, but she got very stressed that she couldn't afford the taxi and the buses. She can't walk far enough to get the bus down there to walk to where the vaccine site is. So I took her down last time.
Yeah.
And so I took her down, got her vaccinated, then came back, picked my mum up because their appointments were like 2 hours apart. And I took my mum up, then I took my mum back. And so I said to this lady, I said, I'll take her back on Wednesday so she can get her second jab.
Oh,
so
cool.
I have been running a couple of the elderly folk there.
Oh, that's good.
But my mum had quite a reaction. She had a nasty reaction, but I think...
You're going to be one of the people that everyone's going to be clapped for at 8 o'clock, Sharon.
I don't think so.
Oh yeah.
So mum had like a bee sting on her arm. She had a big red bump and then a big halo around it.
The clapping thing. Anyway. Would like to think. Well done, Sharon. Would like to think that will be the last time COVID rears its head, and this would be like a lovely COVID-free zone where you can just talk about films and what we've been watching. But I'm not sure we can make that promise before the end of this.
Give it a good go.
We will give it a good go. We'll give it a good go. So once again, welcome to Netflix for Cinema. And on this podcast, what usually happens is that we go and watch, between us, usually 3 things in cinema in a week and 3 things at home on a week. And we talk about, it's like the streaming wars. Which screen is going to win your eyes, the big screen or the very, very small screen? Which one are you going to spend your money at? And obviously, because of the current situation in the world, there we go, talking about COVID again. Because of the current situation in the world, cinemas are not a thing. Cinemas are just not a thing anywhere in the UK right now. We are now in the third lockdown. So we are just going to talk about things that the small screen has been offering up as a substitute, pretty much. We're going to talk about what it is we've been watching. And last week, if you listen to the show, we all spoke about Black Narcissus. We were talking about how we were all going to watch Black Narcissus, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to review it as a group. And in typical Netflix versus cinema fashion, we failed to do that. We all failed, all apart from Shaun. Shaun, Beast Mode Shaun, who goes, yeah, we're gonna watch that. Cool, I'm gonna go watch that. So earlier this evening, we were on our WhatsApp group, and I was like, "Oh, what have we seen?" And Shaun was like, "Black Narcissus," and I was thinking, "Oh, I didn't get to watch that. Okay, I think Sharon and Shaun would have to talk about that without me." And then Sharon was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't watch that either." And Shaun was like, "Oh, was I the only one?" They were like, "Sorry, Shaun."
Sorry. Yeah, it's like mea culpa. I just did not. Yeah. So it's there waiting.
Sorry, Shaun. I kind of.
That's okay. That's okay.
I got caught up watching other things.
I'm quite happy to wait. I know life gets in the way, really, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So that means that next week we have Black Narcissus lined up for next week. That we're going to try and talk about that. But now we're going to kick off with something that it sounds to me, based purely on the title of this film, that this is a little bit of a holdover or hangover from Christmas. That Sharon, Christmas has been and gone, but
the same way everything about us makes us feel as if we never left 2020. You're kind of like, oh well, I might as well sit around and watch some holiday Christmas movies. Am I correct in this film that you're talking about?
It is and it isn't. It's one of those ones that Christmas features, but it's not a Christmas film.
Okay, but so this is a film called Holidate.
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 Yes, it's on Netflix, and it's basically, it starts off. When does it start? It does start off about Christmas time, which is probably why it's been pegged as a Christmas film, where a young woman who, Emma Roberts, has been single for a while, and every time she goes to a family event, they're like, hey, where's, it's been a while now since you split up with your boyfriend, isn't it about time you found yourself a man, blah, blah, blah. And then her husband and her aunt turns up with this, they describe them in America as like a mall Santa. So I think that has a particular meaning. If you're an American, you'd probably think, ugh. We're just going, oh, Father Christmas, how nice. But anyway, he's a bit sleazy anyway, this guy. And she says, and he goes, yeah. And she goes like, who's that guy then? He goes, oh, he's my holiday. And he's like, what's a holiday? Basically, it's someone you pick up, you bring them to a Christmas or an event, and then that's it. You don't have to worry about seeing them again. It's just a date for the holiday or the national holiday.
Yeah.
And so the film then progresses where this young woman meets this young guy, an Australian guy working in Australia, and he's in a similar situation. He's newly single. He's fed up with all people trying to set him up or having disastrous dates with people. So they agree to be each other's holiday. So basically, it's like there's no commitment. It's just they're plus one for whenever there's an event going on. So, and they decide to be there. They'll be their holidays for the next year. So they end up being their holidays for Valentine's Day, for Easter, in America. There's loads of American holidays. I'm thinking, is that a thing then?
Yeah.
But it was, I think, like Labor Day and Halloween. And anyway, basically, there's these sort of vignettes all the way through where they basically turn up and go to these events.
I don't know about you, Shaun, but I have a feeling I feel like I've seen this film before.
Yeah, I guess it's like could be like quite a few.
Yeah,
I think it's a trope, but it's a romantic comedy, but it is quite earthy. I mean, there's surprisingly quite a lot of swearing in it, and they don't flinch away from the whole maybe sort of friends with benefits element of relationships.
That was one of the films I was thinking of.
Yeah, and there's a couple of scenes that you think, oh, okay, that's interesting. Sort of like the bodily functions are mentioned in a couple of scenes. You think, okay, so this is not this is not your Hallmark holiday film. By some of the references, you're thinking, oh, okay. Some of it was genuinely funny. There were a few laugh out loud moments that I think more because I was just shocked at what I was seeing. I thought I laughed at. I was like, sort of that nervous reaction. Like, oh!
Sharon, you didn't watch it with your mum, did you?
No, I had headphones on and I had it on my
oh, right, okay. What would your mum have thought?
Oh, she wouldn't have lasted the first 10 minutes. No. That would have been, no, we wouldn't. So it is as of a type, but it was more like a bride. I haven't seen Bridesmaids, but it's that sort of humour.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, gotcha.
Right, okay. So it isn't your sentimental, I call it like a Hallmark type film, but we all know the ones. They're slightly soft focus. They're always about like this working, this busy city type woman who ends up going to a small town in America.
Yeah.
She sees a couple of Christmas trees and her old high school boyfriend, and it all comes back to her. Why on earth did she leave the small town when it's perfect?
Yeah.
And then, it's everything's slightly misty. You think that they got some sort of grease on the camera lens.
Yeah. The closest I got to that was watching an episode of The Simpsons that makes fun, that essentially parodies this type of film. And where they come to Springfield to make one of these sort of like Christmas movies, but at the same time, the way The Simpsons does is like, while parodying the whole someone coming to a small town, they actually make the episode one of those films at the same time, where the woman ends up having like a relationship with a holiday romance with Principal Skinner. That was the closest I got to that. Oh, and reading a BBC article that was all about this type of film and why this type of film is so popular right now.
Yeah, they are just. It is just like a box of chocolates. You there's a certain time of the year that can eat that guilt-free. You can almost say, I know it's wrong to eat a whole box of chocolates, but I'm just going to do it. So if you watch like 2 of these Hallmark films, you are in danger of sort of contracting diabetes, but you tend to think, I will watch it anyway. This is not quite in that category. So it's aware of that trope.
Yeah.
And then it turns it on its head. So there's a big scene where there's like a big declaration. They always do it at these things, like it's a proposal or it's some sort of declaration. And I always look at those and go, don't do that. That's manipulative and that's embarrassing and it's just plain creepy. But they always do it in these films. And so they do it in this one, but they are aware of how manipulative and creepy that sort of public declaration or proposal actually is. It's nothing romantic about proposing in front of 400 strangers in my eyes. It's just you're just doing it so that they can't say no.
Okay, so it sounds like one of these sort of Hallmark films that, well, from what you say about the language, it would never be on Hallmark. But so it sounds like it tries to be this sort of film while also shying away from everything that makes one of those films that kind of film. So does it work? How many stars would you give it?
I would say it works. It is genuinely funny in places, and you do end up sort of rooting for them as you do against your will sometimes. But it's one of those ones where the 2 leads are likable, and there's enough humour in it to carry it through the worst sort of types of these sort of films that they generate. So I would say yes, it's entertaining. It worked, but I'd say I'd give it a 3 because it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's a romantic comedy. Even if it's self-aware, it's still what it is. Yeah. So I would give it a 3.
You see, I'm just getting this image of you sat down on your sofa at home, and then you catch yourself caring. You're just sort of sitting there going, "Oh my god, this! Oh no! Oh! Where did that come from?
Oh no! Oh, for goodness sake! Slap! Yeah.
Okay. All right. So from that
Stand together, woman.
Okay. You know what came up on my Amazon Prime the other day? On a big banner, a big massive banner at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
After We Collided.
Oh, for goodness sake.
And honestly, I mean, the way it just says, like, get yourself together, woman. It made me think, oh man, I almost want to watch this just so I can join you. I can join. I think I want to go watch After just so I can join you in that place where you're like, oh, this is not worth it. All right, so talking about things that are being like, at the banner at the top of a streaming service, something that is just being pushed and shoved down your throat. Shaun, you saw something called The Serpent.
I did see some. Yeah, this was just normal terrestrial BBC One.
Well,
this was on the iPlayer.
Yeah, it's BBC iPlayer. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is
which is sneakily becoming a massive streaming service.
Yes, I know. There's some good stuff on there, I must say. So this is about Charles Sabraj, and he was like during the 1970s. He was in Thailand, and he obviously used to kill and rob a lot of backpackers. And so it's basically this story, and it takes place in France, in Nepal, in India, and he goes around his place, and he sort of comes off as a gem dealer, and he gets his Canadian French girlfriend who's like just totally besotted with him, and so he's got an accomplice that introduces people, and he can spot people that are maybe lonely or a bit, and they go back to their place, and just because he wants their money or he's and their passports, so he uses passports. He uses all the passports to go to different countries to do different deals and all that sort of thing. It's quite a few. There's a few episodes, and it sort of flits a little bit back and forth, and you've got this. Basically, two of the people that have been murdered, a couple that have been murdered, they're down as Australians, but they're actually Dutch, and nobody's really paying a lot of attention to this thing. But there's this one person who works at the Dutch embassy that decides he wants to investigate these, and much other people saying, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just backpackers doing too much drugs," and they, that's what they do. because obviously being about that time of year, it was all about going to Nepal and all that. So
yeah.
But anyway, he's not happy about it, so he investigates a little bit more, and so the story is about this. He gradually works around to finding out more and more. He goes to all the different embassies, the British embassy. When he goes to the British embassy, they say, well, there was this one backpacker that's saying that he tried to basically kill me and get me money and all that sort of stuff. So he follows from there, and it's basically like a little bit of a hunt for this killer, which they finally, obviously, well, I can't really give it.
So is it kind of like when you have a police procedural or like a serial killer hunt kind of TV show?
Yeah, that sort of thing. It spends a lot of time with the actual killer and the girlfriend, and then it will go back to it says like goes back. It says 3 months before, and then it goes
okay, yeah, gotcha.
6 months later, and then it goes 6 months before. And I know a lot of people had a few problems with that. So, but for me, I mean, my feelings about it, I thought it was terrifically well acted. I thought it was absolutely, absolutely brilliant. The acting was first class. Oh, and that sounds like a serpent to me.
Yeah. No, I was wondering whether you guys could hear that. I think the pipes in my house are doing something very weird. I'm currently in a room in which I think we have a boiler tank or something, and all of a sudden the pipes just decide to start hissing at me.
So yeah, back to this. I think the acting is fantastic, and Gemma Coleman, who I think is great.
Yeah,
she plays a really, really fantastic part. And you go to all these lovely, obviously, having been a traveller myself. I'm sort of thinking, oh mate, I really, really want to go travelling again, And
yeah.
I know it's like I was obviously, so 74, 75, 75, 76, I'd have been 15, 16. I mean, obviously I wasn't travelling to those sort of classes then, I was a little bit older, but it still had that, I suppose when the times I've been to places like that, it still had that sort of vibe. So it might have been like 4 years later, but it still had that vibe. And I was thinking, like when people walk out onto verandas, I was thinking, or the swimming pool down. Oh yeah, that looks. I reckon I've been there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
I've recognised that place. I'm sure I recognise. So like the state, because they're all very similar. Hotels and apartments, obviously in certain places, tourist places.
Yeah,
they are very much. The big stairs, and they go around, and the rooms have got verandas and stuff. So yeah, for me personally, I thought it was well, I had to keep watching again, so that's obviously a good thing. I have to keep watching something.
Yeah.
Watch the next one, watch the next one, watch the next one. I think for me, I really, really enjoyed this. I thought it was great, and as I say, the scenery was fantastic. And the guy who plays the killer, he's one of those really arrogant sociopaths. I think maybe they could have perhaps, a little bit more about his background and really sure. But when these things, they make you actually look and investigate. So I thought, and so I had a look,
it sent you down a Wikipedia rabbit hole.
Yeah, and so that's it really. So I was looking about it, and apparently originally he was in Saigon in Vietnam. So he was and he was a child of so he could speak French, because a lot of French speaking in it. So obviously when he meets a French Canadian, so yeah, and you've got all the different languages as well. So you've got your Dutch, you've got your French, and you've got your Thai, obviously, which is quite interesting. Oh yeah, I could see that. And
yeah, you got a little bit of English.
To me, you know how big I am on authenticity.
Yeah.
To me, it just felt, because obviously you've got people going to the police, and they're like, blah blah blah, very blasé. But then in India, and you've got the police in India, and then you've got the Interpol guy who's really, really wants to nab him, but he's just so arrogant. You know what I mean? Even with the because with the story, he actually does some time, gets out, and then goes to somewhere where he's done some other stuff. It's just like, why would you do that? And I mean, that's the whole thing. People cannot understand why, if you're a free person in France, why go to a place where you've done something
and you're wanted for
it? Just be really, really arrogant about it, So I don't know what. So it's a fascinating story, I think. I could understand that people might get a bit fed up with the flitting back and forth, but I mean, I could cope with that.
How many stars did you give it?
4.
4 stars.
Okay.
4 stars. Oh.
It's one I taped, so I've got it. Well, I recorded it on my device. I keep saying taped. There's no tape involved in this process anymore.
I mean, you can get it
but
on
I did
iPlayer
record
anywhere,
it
I
over
think.
Christmas to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can get it
I
on
tend to.
iPlayer.
Yeah,
But
I
I'd
do
be
tend to
interested to think what
set
you think
the
of it,
watch
Sharon.
it.
I would really,
Yes,
really
it's
be
one I've
interested.
got
So if you
ready
get a
to
chance to
watch.
watch it, yeah, cool. I think it just seems really authentic and really believable and really, you know, and I think the acting's first class.
Yeah, and as we all know, if Shaun says that, something's authentic, that means that someone has put some work. Someone has worked hard.
Done their research.
Someone has worked hard to get the Shaun seal of, you know what? Yeah, well done. Yeah, that makes me feel like I'm there. So someone has done a lot of work for that. So okay, good. Because that's when I know that they've been pushing a lot, and it's something that just made me think, maybe I should watch that. So sticking with the BBC iPlayer for a second, and this is also every now and then on the show, one of us watches something and says, "Oh, love it," and then one of us goes to watch it and gives a feedback and goes, "Oh yeah, I actually saw that as well." Now, sometimes it's also that someone's given something a horrible review. Like there's a bit of me that really there's a really perverse bit of me that really does want to go watch after, as I've said already, just so I could see what incensed Sharon so much. what incensed Sharon. There's also a bit of me that wants to watch Rambo: Last Blood, because I know Shaun didn't like it. But Sharon, you went for the jugular with that film, and I have like no desire to watch it, but there's a bit of me that goes, I want to see what it was. I want to see the film that like.
I would grudgingly give it half a star, half a point.
Yeah,
I can't even give it 1. I just can't even give it 1.
Yeah, there's a bit of me that really wants to see it. What was it? What was it there? But this is something that you watched, Sharon. You watched Ghosts. And
love it.
Just to give a quick bit, I think everything you said about Ghosts you can search for it on one of our previous shows. Everything you said about Ghosts, I think I have to agree with. I think it is a very, very, it's well written. I mean, I think the comedy troupe that haven't given themselves a name, but they're the same people who did Horrible Histories, the same people who did Yonderland. They have written. It's really, really good. There's bits of it that remind me a little bit of Rent-A-Ghost, if you remember the sort of like the 70s, 80s, like British comedy TV show, which one of the shows we randomly got in Nigeria for some reason. There's bits of it that remind me of Rent-A-Ghost, but I think just the interplay between every one of them, the comedy in it, I think is really, really good. I think it comes from the different characters and the ideas of having all these ghosts in this house from people who've died in this house over thousands of years, all in the same place, and how they all interact with each other. And I think that there was a bit. I watched season 1. I finished watching season 1, and there was a bit in season 1. It's like a tiny little grace note where somebody says something and most of the ghosts are sitting down and they also stand up going like they sit up and they gasp, and there's one the oldest ghost in the house is a caveman. He's like a caveman and he isn't sitting down, so he sort of looks around, then he kind of like goes down like he's sitting down and he stands up and goes as like he wants to be part of it. And it's a tiny little thing. It's like a blink and you miss it, but it cracked me up. It cracked me right up. Yeah. And I think also what you said about it has these moments of sort of pathos, or has these moments of just sort of like of that catch you off guard. Like there's one episode called Happy Death Day where there's
absolutely.
Yeah, there's one with one of the ghosts is a scoutmaster, and it's all about, he's talking about the day that he died, and the way it treats it, there's something that comes at the end of the episode that just comes out of the blue. When you think back on it, you would think, oh yeah, I guess it might have been a bit obvious, but I didn't see it coming. It came out of the blue and I was like, oh my god, oh wow. and it's funny. There's a tiny little bit of philosophical stuff about what have the dead lost as much as what have the living lost when they. Anyway, it's all good. It's all done way better and much more eloquently than I can say. So I agree with you, Sharon. Thanks for the recommendation. Ghosts. I'm looking forward to seeing season 2. And
there's a Christmas special.
Yeah, there's a Christmas special, but they zoom by without you realizing. Like you just sit down there watching it, and then next thing you know, you've watched 6 episodes.
Oh yeah, I've watched them all. I think I've watched both seasons 2 or 3 times, and I've watched the Christmas special 2 or 3 times because they're only like half an hour long.
Yeah, they only have, and
I'm just thinking, I'll watch the first one again because there's a scene with the ghost that just makes me laugh before it even starts. Now I start laughing before it even happens, and it's all just down to this one interplay between two of them, and I just think, I just watched that bit, and then before I know it, I've watched the whole 6 episodes.
Yeah, it's funny because it's only like half an hour, but feels shorter for some reason.
Yeah,
I think one of the funniest bits is there's a scene where the couple who live in the house introduce the ghosts to friends, and so you have all the ghosts sat down there watching Friends, and I think it's just so silly. It's so silly. It's great. All right, cool. But okay, that's it. But onto the thing I've actually seen this week, which I am struggling to remember what it was now because I've been too busy talking about ghosts. What did I tell you guys I see? Oh, His Dark Materials. His Dark Materials season 2.
Season 2.
So, if anybody knows about His Dark Materials, these are a series of books. There were 3 of them, originally 3 of them. He's written more since, written by Philip Pullman. And in his words, what he did is that he was the fact that, you have the great fantasy of Lord of the Rings or the Chronicles of Narnia, which are both this big, epic, well-recognized fantasies in English literature, but are both Christian allegories. So everything about them is actually baked in sort of like, Christian stories, theology, all that kind of stuff. But Philip Pullman, being an atheist, he decided that he wanted to write the great, big, historical fantasy epic that was based on atheist principles. And this has been tried to adapt it into a film they called The Golden Compass some years back. That didn't go well because essentially they shied away from the meat of what he was trying to say with the stories. And so the BBC, I think along with HBO or some big American company, have decided, let's throw money at this, let's do it properly, let's make it a TV series. So they did the whole idea behind it is that there's this element called dust, which you have this group called the Magisterium, who are obviously, there's no way possible that these people could be representing the Catholic Church. Oh no, they're not the Catholic Church. They just happen to have like a really, really big city, and they all wear robes and they look like cardinals, but it's not the Catholic Church. And so this thing called dust, the Magisterium have decided this is original sin, and decided that there's no way nobody should find anything about this. And it becomes this whole thing about, like, a big treatise about, do you try and suppress knowledge, or do you try and get as much knowledge to as many people to give them freedom? And season 2 comes with a bit where, like, there's a way they can jump from one world into another world, because they're in a world where their demon or their soul is represented by an animal that lives outside your body. And obviously they come to our world where we don't have that, like our souls are on the inside. And I think season 2 is quite good. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought that season 1, they did a very, very good job of adapting this. I'm interested to see what they do, because season 3, based on book 3 is when it goes absolutely mental. Like I remember as I was reading the book, there's bits where you're reading the book and you're getting to it and you're going, wait a second, what on earth is going on? I just don't understand what is going on. Who's going there? Where is this going? How is this going to end up? And you can feel that towards the end of season 2, there's bits where you can almost feel the story beginning to unravel, because they're trying to tell the story that Philip Pullman told in the books, but there's just so many things that he references and he grabs onto, and he goes and he's trying to attack organized religion and trying to say, what if we just get... And it's beginning at the end of this season to go out of whack a little. I'm thinking, that you're struggling there. You're struggling there. But I still think that they've done a really, really good job to try and make this thing coherent, because there's bits of it where they have taken things that are in the book and they have just made it straight and obvious. And no. In the book, it was a bit subtle. We're just going to come and tell you this is feminism. We're talking about feminism here. Okay, now we're talking about organized religion. Now we're talking about this. And they just make it a bit more obvious than it was in the book. So I think the 3rd season is going to be a massive, massive challenge on how on earth they're going to pull this story off, how they're going to bring this story to conclusion, because arguably it doesn't actually conclude in the book. But I'm impressed with what they've done. I have to say, big shout outs to Ruth Wilson Ruth Wilson, who plays Mrs. Coulter, she is brilliant as always in it. And I think Daphne Keane and Amia Wilson, it's a TV show that is dealing with big, massive issues that really rests on the shoulders of two child actors, and I think that they actually do quite well. So all in all, I would give season 2 a 4 out of 5, and season 3, I'm really interested to see how they bring it about because I think it's going to be.
It's on my watch list again. I've got it on the hard drive where I downloaded it to watch, and I haven't watched it yet. So that will be at some point.
yeah. I think it'll be interesting because obviously, Sharon, you and I, we both call ourselves Christians, and I know there's some people who hate his Dark Materials because it is obviously. It's going for religion. It's going for a religion, saying religion is bad. Quite frankly, there's no most about it. It says religion is bad. And so I know there's some people who won't watch it or read it because of that. And I think there's some really, really good observations in there and some really, really good discussions and arguments made in there that I think are mega interesting. So, yeah. All right.
It's on my watch list.
So that's his Dark Materials season 2. I think if nothing else, watch it for Ruth Wilson. Watch for Ruth.
She's always good. I've liked her since Jane Eyre. Though I've only watched a part of The Affair because it was just a little bit racy for me. But nearly everything that she's been in has been very good.
Yeah, or she's one of those people who she is good in everything she's in, regardless of whether what she's in is any good.
Yes, she's always a constant.
Yeah, she really, really is, and I think she is chilling. There's bits in this where she's absolutely chilling, and you can imagine that she's the most feared person in the world. But just for she goes. But anyway, so that's his Dark Materials season 2, and now we are going to bring it home, and we're going to go back to Shaun. So Shaun, last week you spoke to us about Gotham season 4 and how after the TV show Gotham had taken a little bit of a dip in season 3, it gotten you back on track in season 4. So much so that you barreled straight on into season 5 and you finished it a week later. So because this is an American show, so they tend to have more episodes than they do with British shows. Like Ghost has 6 episodes. This has, I'm guessing, around about 10, 13 at the very least.
They have a lot of. They do have a lot of episodes, so it did take a lot of binge watching. I mean, so it carries on. So basically, Gotham's like a separate city from the rest of whatever country it's in, America or whatever. Obviously, America. So it becomes, and so there's like different areas. So the gangs just sort of take over and they resurface, and it becomes a bit there, and then. Commissioner Gordon sets up a place called Haven where, you know, all the sort of people can be looked after and stuff. And then on the outside world, you've got saying, it's a horrible place and we're not going to come and help you out and you've got to do stuff. So, you know, we're going to leave it, see how it is. We're not going to give you any help because there's no way into Gotham now. So Gotham's a whole separate entity. And you've got all the regulars. You've got all the regulars there. You've got the Penguin. You've got the Riddler. You've got Selena Kyle, Catwoman, Poison Ivy. They all sort of turn up in different episodes again. And then you actually get Bane. So we got Bane, you know. I
have got the dragon.
So in towards the later episodes, you get Bane, and you've got Hugo Strange, which I find him. He's not in it a lot, but he's like a doctor that does things to people, you know, and he's quite a interesting, Hugo Strange.
Yeah,
so not the Doctor Strange. He is a doctor, but they call him Hugo Strange.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember him from the comics. I think he's one of those characters that I'm only vaguely aware of from the comics.
Yeah, that's similar with me from the comics. He's not. I think he might be in one comic, and So he's a really interesting character. As I say, you've got Bane, and they decide that they're going to take out Gotham. Basically, they're going to destroy. They're going to, Gotham's going to be taken to ashes. So all the different factions in Gotham, they have to sort of team up for a short while to defend themselves. So that's quite an interesting concept. And then, obviously you've got he's obviously the Joker, but I don't think they're allowed to call him the Joker. but
no,
you know,
probably not.
Oh, I'm John, Jake, Justin, whatever you want to call me. You know, all words with J sort of thing. So, and yeah, no, that was great. I really liked that. They were obviously saying we can't use the Joker for some reason, so
Yeah.
we're gonna make it.
It's like we can't use the word Joker, but this guy does have a white face, red lips, green hair, wears a purple suit, but he's not the Joker.
So yeah.
Just like the Magisterium and his Dark Materials is definitely not the Catholic Church. This is definitely not the Joker.
So then after all things happen, and there's you know, gets a bit moralistic towards the end, because obviously the people that are destroying Gotham suddenly whenever all these people turn up and just stand there, and you've got you know, obviously some people decide they have got, after doing all this horrible stuff, they have got a bit of a moral compass. So
oh no.
so I mean, that was a bit of a thing, and then you got the last episode, which is 10 years later, and obviously you know, obviously it's, but okay, I mean, the last episode was
okay, Shaun, I can see you're bursting, but no spoilers.
It's okay. That was yeah, I'm not going to say, but it was the last episode was, yeah, it was that was like the cherry. So
okay. I couldn't read your face at all there. I wasn't sure whether you were disappointed or really delighted with that last episode. I couldn't read.
I tried to keep that one, but yeah, no, it really delighted. I mean, season 5 as a whole, it had some great ones. It had some mediocre episodes and a couple of what I would call not so good episodes. So, I mean, the season as a whole, I guess, I think I probably preferred season 4 to 5, but the cherry was the last. The cherry was the last episode, and it was just like, oh yes, we do like this. This is just like superb. It's just like proper superb. So
okay, because the thing is, I always think that last seasons of TV shows are really difficult to nail, because whatever's happening, you kind of know this thing is coming to an end. So it's I mean, obviously we had Game of Thrones a couple of years back, which caused so much kind of like debate as to was it good, was it terrible. And I think you have people on either side who are going to say this, but I think like last seasons are actually quite difficult to nail, and so it sounds like, because they're wrapping some things up and all that there might be some dips and all that, but all in all, you seem quite happy.
Yeah, it was on the whole, as I say, it was I think with a couple of episodes that I thought weren't quite so good, there was a few I had a few of my issues with it, you know, about having a bit like, you know, moral compasses and stuff after certain something things happen, something conveniently, you know, it's
like you've been like this for 4 years, and all of a sudden conveniently you're going against everything that we've learned about you in the last 4 years to go do that.
That sort of thing. So, but on the whole, really good. And as I say, the last episode, I was just like, I thought, oh my goodness me, how cool is that? And it is just like, it's set it right up. I mean, I don't know if they'll ever do another series, but that was it was great. So on the whole,
so how many stars?
I'm going to give it purely. It's a tough one. I would on the whole, as a series, I would probably say 3. I think I gave season 4 a 4, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Remember? Yeah. Well, this one would go 3, but because I was so chuffed with it at the end of the thing and felt satisfied and was quite happy and content, I'm going to give this a 4 as well.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff.
So it was like, I really liked this. Interesting. I'm just going to go off quickly on one of my tangents. Is that I get these emails sometimes from things called Heritage Auction. It's like an online auction that does movie posters and things, and they have comics as well. And the one that goes, Heritage News, and they had the Batman #1 went for $1 million, and this guy bought it. This guy bought it in 1983 which was it was $3,000. It was originally $5,000, and he bought it for $3,000. That was in 1983, and basically, it was his son was selling it. He said, I don't really want it, but it's been in my dad's it's been in my dad's house for this long, and so he put it into auction. And it is, mind you, it is a near mint copy. It is like pristine. And I mean, that's a lot to do with the condition, but I mean, that's not a bad investment, is it? $3,000 to $1 million, I suppose. What's that? So 20, 30 years?
30,
Not a bad 30, 40 year investment.
Good Lord, that's over 100. Wait, so 3,000. Yeah, that's over 100 times appreciation.
Yeah, it's a bit like Bitcoin, eh?
It's over
a bit like Bitcoin.
Yeah. It's like
I told you that as well, didn't I, Tosin? Bitcoin, right? Oh, it's going to be must be 13, 15, 17 years ago when I was at the school. The chap said to me, the teacher, Dave, I remember his name, and he said, we were talking one day. He said, what do you think about this Bitcoin? And I'm like, what? He goes, oh, it's like an online currency thing and all that. And being, me, I'm not a tech. I was like, no, not interested. And it was like £1 for a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I'm tempted to have 100 quid. He said. I said, no, it won't go. It'll be blooming rubbish. If I'd have bought 100 quid, I'd be a multi-millionaire, wouldn't I?
Yeah. A friend of mine was saying the other day that it wasn't even that long ago that she bought £50 worth of Bitcoin and just lost. And then she was like, she didn't even know how much it was. And I think it was in a couple of years or something. She now actually has, she has almost 3 times what she put. Like she has about 140 from what she got from Bitcoin. I still don't understand it. I still don't know how it works.
No, I don't. Well, I won't. That's why I'm not really.
Yeah,
I'm not au fait with that sort of thing, and
it's a kind of
mistrusting or whatever. But if you can't see it, you know what I mean. If you haven't got it physically there, then
well, that bit doesn't worry me that much. I just don't understand how it works. But if I knew someone who understood how it worked, like your Dave friend, I would be like, take some money, see what happens.
Yeah. And I wish I had it.
Yeah. As long as you're willing to lose it, then you haven't really lost anything.
Anyway, sorry about that. Going again.
All right, cool. I believe that is it for what we're talking about this week. So it's going to be next week when hopefully Sharon and I would have gotten an act together and watched Black Narcissus.
Yes.
Yeah, and I will plan to join Shaun in watching Nicolas Cage have a lot of fun as the presenter of a TV show called The History of Swear Words on Netflix. I mean, even from the opening, because Shaun, you finished watching the season. I haven't finished watching it yet. But even from the opening scene of that, you can see that, okay, Nick Cage is having fun. We're getting fun Nick Cage. He isn't just collecting a paycheck here. This isn't some direct-to-TV thing that he's doing where he's like, oh my god, okay, I'll fly to Prague, I'll do this, just pay me and leave me alone. He is having fun.
And he's the ideal host, isn't he?
He is kind of the ideal host for the sort of tongue-in-cheek, a little bit OTT approach that they take to the show, because the show is properly researched. It's kind of this weird mix of prestige, BBC, actual, we're going to go into like the science and the etymology of words and all that, and the sort of Channel 4's Talking Heads, I Love the 90s documentary, where you have a whole bunch of comedians sitting around and talking about stuff, and you can see that each one of them has just come and gone, I'm going to come up with a wisecrack that nobody else have come up with. Aha, I got it! And then they deliver it to the camera. So it looks good. I'm looking forward to doing that. But until next week, when all that should happen and all that should be being reviewed, it's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
Yeah, goodbye from those two, yeah. And a goodbye from those two. And find us online, find us on Facebook, look for Netflix or Cinema, find us on Twitter, get in touch and tell us what it is you have been watching. It's been great to have you with us, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.